What's up, y'all? It's Throwing Light. I'm LTJ Reeves, and if you're not throwing light, you're not acting right. Let's get on over here to our guests. I've got Law Daddy here, aka Gary, in
Hey,
Austin with me. Right? Are you in Austin right now?
I'm sitting here in downtown Austin, Texas.
There you go. Yes, and I am in the northern suburbs of Austin right now. There's not much happening over here except for traffic.
There's always something happening in downtown.
Well, yeah, downtown, but not on Palmer Lane. Okay, Gary. I am excited to have you on here. We have grown. Our friendship has grown,
Mhm.
like, from not knowing anything about you to knowing a lot about you, and
Yeah,
so it's very
same here.
great to get to know you and let our friendship blossom here. So, Gary, what got you involved in the community to start out?
That's a good question. Over the years, my husband and I, we'd go to like Folsom, to MAL, to IML, to some of the different events, but I always was sort of just a spectator. I was just sort of the guy outside looking in.
Hmm.
But through some of that travel, I got to know Luis Bratt and Randy Surratt and some of that crowd. I'm an attorney. I helped them out with a little bit of legal work, got to know them. They know the whole other crowd here in Austin. So I met some of their friends, and it just happened sort of slowly and organically. Um, the next thing I knew, I was not just going to a leather thing, but I was like a leather guy at the leather thing. And I found it to be just a whole lot of fun. And the people I met were just great. You're a perfect example of that. We probably wouldn't have crossed paths otherwise, but now, I've met this really great person. And I enjoyed the vibe of the scene. I enjoyed the community. It was a lot of fun. I like dressing up, that was cool. And and just got real involved all the way to where I ran for Mr. Austin Eagle and became first runner up. And I ran for Mr. Texas Leather and became first runner up. So that's my claim to fame. I shall always be first runner up in the leather community. So
I called you Susan Lucci.
that's right. That's right. But no, I've just had a lot of fun. And the more involved I've got, the more fun I've had. And then I finally decided, because I have some young friends that I'm bringing into this, I thought, I'm just going to start my own leather group. It's a pretty low bar to doing it. So I formed the Austin Leather Crew. And then the Austin Leather Crew has been showing up at things. We've shown up at some of the Red District parties and put on like shows. We've gone to some of the Shrine events and put on shows. I've done things, set up things at the Eagle. And now this coming weekend at Art Erotica, the Austin Leather Crew is sponsoring a big art installation performance piece. And it's going to be the talk of the night. And so I've got a handful of friends helping me put that together. And it's going to be this really crazy thing. And that's going to be sponsored by the Austin Leather Crew. So that's sort of what I'm doing now, is just sort of, under the auspices of that umbrella, just doing fun things out in the leather community.
You know what I've learned from a lot of people that are involved in the community. We have so many different backgrounds and stuff. You're coming at this as an attorney, as a lawyer, um, but you're also living your leather life. So it appears to me that you're able to be fully you at any capacity.
Yeah, I lived a big part of my life in the closet. I'm one of these guys who did, got out of high school, got married to a woman, had kids. I'm one of these like late life guys to come out. And I decided I'm not going back in the closet. And if I'm going to be out and live my life as an authentic gay person, I'm going to be fearless about it. And if I like a thing or if there's a thing that's fun, I don't care. And I'm lucky to live in a city like Austin where I can both live an authentic leather life and well, like I said, just right before this, I just came from a judicial reception. I was hanging around having cocktails with judges. I haven't had a problem being in both of those spaces in this city, and I know. So I'm just continuing to do it and just having a lot of fun with it.
That's cool. That's great. It's inspiring to people because a lot of people not only have to keep their sexuality or their the gender secret or in the closet, they also keep their leather lives in the closet. And
Yeah.
and I totally get it because it's very easy to misinterpret the purpose and why we exist, and obviously stereotype the sexual beings and things like that. let's go back and talk a little bit about your experience as an attorney, and what are some of the challenges that you have faced? What kind of law are you involved in and all that type of stuff?
Yeah, I'm a commercial litigator, a courtroom guy. I started my own law firm over 20 years ago now, and I've got offices here in Austin and Dallas and Boulder, Colorado. And I'm a litigator. I'm a courtroom guy. But back about 15 years ago, me and a friend of mine, Fred Sultan, we started the Austin LGBT Bar Association. Dallas had a bar association, gay bar. Houston had a gay bar, but Austin didn't have one. And we approached the executive director of the Austin Bar and said, we'd like to start an LGBT law section of the bar. And her response was, I've been waiting for somebody to come ask to do that. Incredibly supportive. And so I spent a lot of years doing LGBT advocacy work in the legal space. And this is before Obergefell. So you would have, for example, two lesbians would get married in New York and then they'd move to Austin and then they'd want to get divorced and they had a kid. But back then, since you couldn't have same-sex marriage in Texas, you couldn't do same-sex divorce in Texas. So Texas would not allow them to go through the typical divorce process. So we were having to educate family lawyers how to deal with those situations. And I could go on and on the various challenges there were in the legal community. So I helped organize legal education programs to train family lawyers how to deal with same-sex and gay clients. And we did programs for the judiciary and just did a lot of work. And in that work, I was always around other lawyers. And, I'd go to Lavender Law, the big national gay lawyers convention, and I was always involved around lawyers. Once I began getting into the leather community, I realized that I was finding all of these legal issues that were so central to my work, so many people in the leather community didn't know anything about them. And I was a little bit astounded at sort of just the lack of information within the leather community about legal issues that I thought would have been fundamental in those spaces. So I decided that's where I need to start doing work. So I put together a program called Kink and the Law, and I've started taking that on the road and go to different leather fests, and different leather groups will invite me. San Antonio has invited me a handful of times, different groups down there. And I do this program called Kink and the Law, and I just talk about the legal issues and laws that impact the leather community and people in the leather lifestyle. And it's been a lot of fun. And through that process, I've gotten to know so many great people.
That's amazing. That is fantastic. What are a few of the issues that you were surprised that people in the community, because lack of knowledge and resources is just a problem across the board.
Sure, sure.
But what were you most surprised about?
I was surprised about, for example, the Texas has in the books the Texas homosexual conduct statute that would allow gay people to be arrested, essentially. And gay people were arrested and rounded up regularly. In 2004, there was a Supreme Court case called the Lawrence decision, where that Texas statute was found unconstitutional. So it's not enforced anymore. You can't just willy-nilly arrest gay people anymore. But that law is still on the books. And the LGBT law section of the State Bar of Texas, we've been working for years to get that law off the books unsuccessfully. It's still on the books. So the only thing keeping that law from being enforced is the Lawrence decision of the Supreme Court. Well, when they reversed Roe v. Wade in the concurring opinions, they said maybe we should go back and revisit Lawrence, deciding maybe they should reverse that one as well. And if they did, the homosexual conduct statute in Texas would be enforced again, and we could be arrested again. And this is stuff that's happening and going on. And, the homosexual conduct statute and the Lawrence opinion and what's going on politically with it, all of that conversation that I'm so familiar with and my gay lawyer friends are familiar with, I found the leather community didn't know anything about it. And that was an example of something that surprised me.
That is a big thing to know.
Yeah.
That is a frightening thing. And it just really goes back to our issues now. I mean, like they were arresting gay people for being gay.
Oh,
And
yeah.
it is that I tell people, I'm like, they used to say being gay was a mental disorder. Like it just, and now they're saying, oh, being transgender is a mental disorder.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, the transgender community legally is sort of where like the gay community was like 20 years ago, but that's where the movement had turned to starting to helping out the transgender community with their legal rights. But with the shit that's gone down in the past 6 months in politics, I don't even know what to say anymore. So, you know,
yeah, it's not. it is not helpful for us, and all we can try to do is how to figure out how to persevere through this. So I don't know. I'm trying to figure out which area I want to go. All right, I kind of want to talk a little bit about more about the bar association. So I had the opportunity of actually attending the commerce event.
Hmm. That's the
Was that
LGBT
last
Chamber of
year?
Commerce. Yeah.
That was last year. Yes. So that was December, right?
Yes. Uh-huh.
And you won. You won an award.
Yeah.
What award was that?
Uh, I don't remember. There were so many awards that night, and I was a little bit into the red wine probably by that time of the
Won an
evening.
award. So, like, I mean, not everybody won an award. So, I was like 20 people. So, I would think that you would remember, but you probably get so many awards, you don't even care.
What was it? I think the award, it was actually a grant that I think got awarded, right?
I think money came with the award.
Yes, it was a grant. It was a grant.
The Austin Eagle had gotten a small grant, but
Yeah, yeah,
you
yeah.
got called out. Your name got called out, and you
Yeah,
won.
yeah. The LGBT Chamber had obtained grant funding to support local LGBT
Excuse me.
businesses, and people could apply for the grant. And the Eagle had applied, and that was what they got. I think that's what that was.
I just had my first sneeze on this show. Sorry. Okay, so I've had the opportunity to try to blend in with you and work with the Austin Leather crew to start doing
Mhm.
our flash mobs. I have faith that we're going to work that out as we continue to do these things. What's it been like starting a crew? Like,
You know
what
what?
everyone has their different missions and their goals, and like, what did you feel was missing that you needed to create your group?
That's a good question because you've got some really solid groups here in town. Austin Gears, for example. Some really good groups that have been around for a while and are well organized. And there are a few others. And I don't know. I'm an organizer. I like to do things, and I just thought it would be fun to just do a leather group. And I wanted because I had a lot of friends who were wanting to get involved in the leather community, but they weren't ready to commit to something like Austin Gears, which that's a legitimate commitment if you want to be a member of Austin Gears. So they didn't have the time, or felt like they had the leather, or felt like they could be in that kind of a space. So I thought I would create this Austin Leather Crew to be a much more low commitment, an easier thing for people like that to get involved in, to sort of be a way to get their toe wet into the leather community. It would be an entry level group, let's put it that way. That somebody who maybe just had one piece of leather or had only been to a leather thing a couple of times, they could be a member of the Austin Leather Crew, come to these things, learn more about the leather community, and then they could graduate onto other things. So that's my best explanation. The Austin Leather Crew is like the kindergarten of leather groups.
So
Let's put it that
how
way.
would you market that like to the community?
By putting on these events, I brand them. I've got like the big banner, and so I've just been trying to create more visibility for the Austin Leather Crew in the community, so people start asking, "Hey, what's that?" And so that's sort of where we are. We're just trying to raise visibility, sort of create a little bit of a brand with it. But again, at the end of the day, it's just something just to have fun with.
Obviously, it's great to set up like go to places that might be open to it and like spread information. I see that you chose not to call it Austin Leatherman or Leatherman. Was that a conscious choice?
Yeah, of course, because I want it to be as welcoming to as broad a group of people as possible. And
Right.
and anybody can be a member of a crew.
Mm. I think we're running into a lot of issues where women are feeling like there aren't groups for them or spaces. A lot of issues that, and I understand, business people are business people, but the lack of access to leather for women locally,
Hmm.
and we don't really have any groups here too that help bring them together in Austin. So um, that's a whole community kind of, I don't want to call it a crisis, to try to how to figure out how to market to everybody.
Hmm.
and it's going to take a lot of strategy and things like that. But we all have major respect for you creating a group and allowing space for people to come into that group. It's so important right now.
Sure.
And so, I wanted to go to Art Erotica. I really did. I'll be doing the Throw in Light tour in Dallas that
Mhm.
Saturday. I'm hoping all that goes well. But you donated a piece to Art Erotica.
Mhm.
What's the connection? How did you get? Why Art Erotica?
Well, my husband is the national board chair for the organization. And I go to a lot of Vivint, I say of the organization of Vivint National Healthcare, which provides, it's the second largest provider of HIV services to underserved communities in the nation. And Vivint, I could go on and on about the work they do. Art Erotica is a fund, some of the funds raised at Art Erotica, a lot of those funds will be going to Vivint to support their mission of providing HIV health care to low income communities. And so I want to do anything I can to support that. And again, so we're putting on this big sort of X-rated art installation piece for the event.
That's so cool. Um, looking from the background, it's like you have some art going on behind you. It looks like some Greek statue behind. Is that Athena with the basket?
That's Hebe. Hebe is the cup bearer of the gods, and Hebe would bring this cup filled with the nectar, and the gods would drink the nectar, and that's what kept them immortal.
So he just delivered the nectar. He didn't have any other role.
Hebe just is the cup bearer, walked around with that cup, feeding it to the gods. But no, I do a little park out in the middle of the street called Beppy Park, and I put different things out in this park, like a crazy old man. And that statue is just one of the things that I put out there periodically. So my house is full of all this crap that's really, I'm just storing it in here because I use it out in the park for decorations.
Explain this park. What the? Okay, okay.
So the city of Austin built a pedestrian refuge in the middle of the street in front of my house, and it had a landscaped area about the size of a tabletop. And I asked the city engineer what they were going to do with that landscape space, and he said, "Oh, well, they were just going to sod it with grass, which in Austin means it would be a bunch of weeds." So I said, "What would be involved if I just took over the gardening of that?" And there's a whole city process. But he said, "But if you just go and start doing it, nobody will say anything." I'm like, "Okay." And so I asked my immediate neighbors if they'd be cool with me, taking care of that and gardening it, and they're go for it. So I go out there and I started planting flowers and gardening in it. But then I started putting more and more elaborate and crazier and gayer stuff out there. And it's called Beppy Park. It stands for Baylor Infield Parkway Intersection Park. And it's got its own Facebook page. It's been on the news now. The city did a proclamation for it. But again, I try to make it really crazy. So if you're driving down the street, you almost stop when you see it. And things with statues like that out in it is part of that. So
That's amazing.
it's a hobby. It's just a crazy fun thing I do.
Seeing
It's
that
sort of like the Austin Leather Crew.
you have racked up a lot of accolades, my friend. So I'm going to shift the conversation to something a little bit more difficult for you.
Okay.
And let's go ahead and let's talk about it. Ageism in the community. Do you consider yourself an elder of the community?
That's a good question. I consider myself an elder in the fact that I'm an old guy, okay? And I got life experience to speak to, and I like to, mentor younger people. So, in that sense, I am an elder. On the other hand, I'm still relatively new to the leather community. So, in that sense, I'm like a kid. And I recognize that, but I've been very fortunate to have some great mentors. The whole Sir Rat crowd, just a lot of others who've taught me about leather traditions and leather customs and leather styling and the history of leather. And I continue to look up to them for, information and guidance about the leather community and the leather scene. So yeah,
That's
to
a
answer your
lot.
question, I feel both like an elder and like a newbie, both at the same time.
Do you feel discrimination? Have you ever been discriminated against because you were older?
That's, you know, Not in a bad way. I don't think so. If anything, I feel like I'm getting a little privilege from being older. I was at like this concert with all these young kids, and I was trying to be up at the front. There was a chair there, and somebody stood up and gave me the chair to sit in. And I thought, oh, they think I'm like this old man who needs to sit in a chair. And then I thought, I'd fucking love to sit in the chair. I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah, it's great. I got the chair, you know? So, yes, on the one hand, I'm treated a little different. On the other hand, I sort of like it. You know, it's not bothering me.
Okay. Because some people feel like they're ignored, and that's not. But you're doing so much to have a be visible. It might be a little bit easier for you, but there are a lot of people
Look,
that don't have the power that you have.
look, you are exactly right. Because I've been to places where nobody knows me, or I'm in some place in another city. Well, recently I was in the Eagle in New York, and nobody knew me at the Eagle in New York, and I wasn't getting that much attention. Okay. In an unusual kind of way. And I realized, oh, yeah, because I'm this old guy, nobody knows me and everything. So I really felt that. I don't feel that here in Austin
Right.
because I know so many people and people know me. So no matter where I go, there are going to be people to talk to. But the reason I know so many people is I've made the effort to get out there, you know? That's another reason I think it's important in the leather community to get involved, to get out there, because then you know people. Then when you know people, when you go to the bar, you're not standing there, you're invisible. You're somebody that people know, you know?
Outreach is important, as you can say.
Yeah, yeah. You gotta if you want community, you have to go and participate in community, you know?
I just think it's interesting because, people expect this type of energy to come from all these ideas you have and all this, like to have all of this to offer. You know what I'm saying? Um, and your energy is youthful. You can tell that you're excited about the things that you're doing. Um, so this is going to be my question to you. Um, do you think there's a disconnect between generations in our community right now? And I know you've heard the old guard, new guard stuff all the time.
Yeah, yeah.
I'll tell you straight up, I'm not the person to have that conversation
Mhm.
because, in my mind, I'm a part of the new guard, but I don't know how to compare the two. I don't want to do that. I don't want to ruffle feathers because I'm ignorant in so many things. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I don't know how to have that conversation just yet. But
Well, it's interesting because I've thought about this a lot because I was sort of mentored by, people, old guard, old, Tom of Finland leather, a Tom of Finland leather kind of thing. So that's what I understood leather to be in the leather community to be, sort of the whole Tom of Finland thing. But now, more and more recently, you have the younger people doing all sorts of things. That doesn't, a lot of it that has like nothing to do whatsoever with the Tom of Finland leather stuff. So, but I'm like, leather can evolve. Leather can be anything the people want it to be. And if that's what people want leather to be, that's what it'll be. But then that led me to think, well, if leather can be anything, what is leather anymore? What is it? And so I tried to think what would be the thing that would be common to both the old Tom of Finland leather and the pup leather and the queer cosplay leather and what's the common element? And in my mind's eye, the common element is hedonism. Uh, Everybody is looking at participating or experimenting in or encouraging hedonism in some fashion or form. So
define,
that's
let me help
that's
you.
sort of how I look at it now.
We're going to have to explain that word to people. So explain to them what that is.
Hedonism, could simply put, is like living life for pleasure. Living life for pleasure, particularly focused around sexual pleasure, just that the purpose of life is to enjoy it. Okay. There's no other purpose in life other than the enjoyment of it. And you should do things that you find joy in, and there's no greater joy than sexual joy. So this is a group of people who aren't afraid to find joy in life without any regard or caring about what other people think, that they're following their own path to find pleasure. A lot of it focused around, sexual fantasy and kink, and that's hedonism.
So, this went by really fast. Jesus. So we're towards the end of the interview, Gary. Before I let you go, there are only two things you have to do. The first one is what are we missing the mark on? What are we not shedding enough light on, in your opinion? Out of
Uh,
our community.
I think our community needs to market itself more and needs to invite more people into our spaces. Because as I've gone to my non-leather friends and invited them to leather things, you know what they do? They come back. So I think people in the leather community are missing the mark by not reaching more out to people who are outside of the leather community and inviting them in. That's how we'll grow the community.
So we are towards the end. I got a little bit more time with you. I'm gonna ask you something else before I let you go. So our marketing needs to be inclusive. I am being told by women in our community, and this will be all exposed to everybody, but I am, as I'm doing this tour and going around, I am building these panels that are I say leaning in favor of women and trans people. Um, One of the things that was suggested is that we need to do like non-binary marketing, or we need to have like a all that. We need to have women in the photo, non-binary in the photo, trans in the photo. Like, to be a true community is to market to us all. Women, especially when they go to the Eagle, don't feel as welcome because all the marketing is for men. So, how do we do that? Like, what is inclusive marketing? Like, how do we get people to feel invited? I mean, we've got to get them there, but my question: how do we get them there? How do we get them to the event to see that they're welcomed? If we
Here's the
don't have
thing.
visuals for it,
I'm not the person to answer that question. The person who's going to answer that question are the people who feel like they're not being included. They're the only ones who can tell us what they need. I can't tell them what they need. I can't tell them what they should like. I can't tell them what they should want. They're the only ones who can say that. And it's going to be incumbent upon people in those communities to be the leaders to have those conversations and to tell people this is what I want. And it's incumbent upon us to be good allies and listen to that.
very good answer, Mr. Lawyer.
Mhm.
Very
See,
good.
that's I get in front of juries all the time.
You can tell. You can tell. Just be going off, saying what you need to say. Thank you so much for having me on the show, Gary. I am certain that you'll be back.
I'm happy to anytime. Again, I love what you're doing. You're one of the people in the community who creates projects, you create community. It's a low bar. Anybody could do it, but you know what? You're doing it. So good for you. And thank you so much for what you're doing for the community. I'm always happy to support any of your projects at any time.
Oh, there's one more thing you can do to support this project. You can close it out, Gary. Are you ready? I'm going to count to three, and you're going to say, if you're not throwing light, you're not acting right. You ready?
Okay, yes.
One, two, three.
If you're not feeling right, you're not acting right.
You said if you're not feeling right, you're not acting
What
right.
did I say?
If you're not feeling right, you're not acting right. I don't know. I don't know. I love it. If you're not feeling right, you're not acting.
You know what? That's not bad.
I mean, that's universal. That's universal right there. I'm gonna take this. I'm gonna take that. You'll be the one person I let get away with that. Okay. Cool. Thank you so much for being on the show, Gary, and everybody else. Thank you for watching this episode. See y'all next week.
Hey, see you later. Bye.